Hey there, welcome back to the channel. So, we got my trailer here that I've had for a few years now, and the decking is all rotted out naturally because it's plywood. And it was treated plywood, but still it doesn't last long, from what I can tell. And it was on there whenever I bought the trailer. And so, it's very rotted. And needs to be replaced. And so I'm replacing it with deck boards and carriage bolts. So we're gonna get started on that project today. Alright, so I've got the wheel chocks in place for safety. And for now, I've just got these in. This is still not really high enough as far as... I mean, I can get under there fine. It's just toward the axle it's going to get tight, but I might try something else really quick. At any rate, I wanted to show you a little bit better view of like just how bad it is. It's really bad. I mean, you can see I can just rip it apart, and the whole center, especially like once it gets really dry. It rained a couple days ago, so it's got a little bit of moisture to it, but like if there's a full week of no rain, it gets like, it really, like the center of it bows up and buckles out and stuff. It's all super dry rotted, so it's just got to get replaced. It's held in with just standard carriage bolts. Looks like probably zinc plated because they are all rusted up really bad. Zinc is not really great. I've got in here, in the goodie bag, some new carriage bolts, and they're galvanized, which is going to be more ideal for this situation. We've got the hex nuts to go with those, and lock washers. So next step is going to be, I'm going to try to get this jacked up a little bit higher really quick, and then we're going to start having to remove these bolts. And see, they're rusted pretty bad. The bolt themselves, now the lock wash, or the lock nuts that are on there right now are not rusted, so those possibly were stainless, but the bolts in themselves are not. So either way, they're getting replaced. I'm not reusing them. Alright, not sure how well you're gonna be able to see, so probably won't record most of this, but we'll do some. Yeah, that's what I'm afraid of. So these are so rusted that it's just spun in the hole, and the carriage bolt just wallowed out a hole in the wood. So I'm probably gonna have to either get vice grips on the bolt head, or just cut these off with the side grinder. So we'll see. Let me go get, we're gonna try vice grips first. Alright, we got vice grips on there. Let's see if they'll stay on. Wow. That was fun. If everyone is going to be that bad, this is going to be rough. We're going to try using a wire wheel on all these before we go to take them off, Maybe that'll help. Alright, so I think we're gonna have to go with plan B, and who knows how many other plans we're gonna have to use by the time this is done. But the issue I'm running into, so even though I wire brushed that, and I know it was far from ideal, I mean, it's pretty good, it's pretty cleaned up, but there's rust that's built up between the actual nut where it's at on the shaft of the bolt, so you got to break that through that too. And that's the issue I'm having, where this is just spinning up here and it's still tight enough to the wood to where I can't get enough bite on it with the vice grips, because it's just too close to the wood. So that's not working. So there's a couple options now, and I can get the side grinder out and just start grinding all the heads off. That's a pain and not fun, not ideal. Before I do that, I'm going to get a pry bar. Since this is so dry rotted, I'm just gonna see if I can rip this out as is, leaving just the bolts, and then we'll have a ½ an inch of space there to actually be able to fit the pliers on there and get it off of there. Or it'll be easier to cut that way too if I need to cut them. So we're gonna try that. Kind of wish I would have known this before I put this jacked up, but it's solid enough to where I can work on it. It's just, it'd be easier if it was flat. But either way, let's see if a pry bar will work. All right, so I am used to projects requiring a little bit of escalations. Ready for some fun. So we've got standard 28-ounce hammer. Probably not going to start with this, but I'll use this with nice pry bar. And if this doesn't work, well, just get a bigger pry bar. So let's see if we can get this done. Well, let's just see. This won't do it. Nah. What I really need to do is be able to get in there and pry up on it. So unfortunately, I'm gonna have to get this taken back down to where it's level and off these jack stands so I can actually get in there and do stuff. Alright, well, unfortunately, I found a reason that's going to make me stop doing it this way. And the reason is because this back mesh back here get to it from this side, I guess. As you can see, it is rusted out so bad, it's just breaking apart, which is not what I want. So the deck boards are going to be plenty strong enough on their own, like even without this mesh here, they'd be perfectly fine. But that being said, I really would prefer not to just destroy everything. As far as the mesh goes, up here it held fine from what I saw. It wasn't even okay, that one did bend a little bit up, but so yeah, doing it this way is not great. So I guess what I'm gonna have to do is just get the side grinder and just start cutting the heads off of all these, because I can't just go underneath and cut the bolt, because the same situation applies where the nut is on there, and that's the part that's rusted to where it's not going to want to come off. So the only thing to do is to cut the top off. So that's really not what I wanted to deal with. I'd much rather would have just done this the whole time, but okay, you know, is what it is. So let me go get that and we can start cutting. Oh man, look at that. I got rusted. Good luck getting that off without the side grinder or without ripping it apart. But yeah, that actually not too bad. Shouldn't take too long to get the rest of them. I just got to get underneath the head, and then it comes off pretty quickly. Little bee, big bumblebee trapped in there. Okay, so anyways, one thing I'm noticing, and I should have checked this before I went and got all the hardware, but you see the, okay, so I was going to reuse these flat washers, but some of them are probably okay, like this one's probably okay if I flatten it back out, but most of them are warped. Well, probably didn't help me prying them on them, but the one back there was warped super bad, and it was because it was loose, and so it was just banging around. And so at any rate, I'm not going to reuse these flat washers, and so I didn't actually buy flat washers. I only bought lock washers, which I needed the lock washers, but the lock washers are not going to be for, hold on one second, open this box. The lock washers are not going to be what we need to hold it down, so the lock washers will just keep the bolts from backing off. But if you, as you see here, these are the lock washers, very tiny, and all they do is they keep it from the bolt from backing off, and these are not going to be big enough to hold the nut and bolt on there, because you need big washers like this to do that. So you like put the big flat washer and then your lock washer and then your nut. I'm gonna go see really quick if I've got anything in my shop, but I probably don't. Alright, this is all I could find. It's galvanized, 1/4 inch, but it's too small. That's the only thing I have here, so I'm gonna have to go back to the store, which is something we always dread. Alright, I'm not going back to the store yet. I'm gonna go ahead and finish this first. So the problem I'm running into, of course, is that the heads are sunk down into the wood. So some of them that were like partially rotted out were easy to get to, like those. These, you know, they're in tight. So just having to get underneath them is the hard part. All right, a little bit change the plan to see how it works. I took a chiseled out around it. So hopefully that helps at least remove a lot of the wood that was getting in the way, because the wood is slowing down the cutting wheel and making it harder to do anything. So maybe this will help, maybe it won't, I don't know. It did help. I better be careful about putting those. I'm using a 5-gallon bucket for my trash, and it's got a bunch of paper and stuff in there, so I'm gonna stop doing that for right now for those, because they're coming off of there like blazing hot, of course. All right, well, that seemed to help. I'm gonna chisel out these other two, and I've got 2 more in the middle there, and that's it. Yeah, don't worry, I'm sure it'll buff out. At any rate, we've got 4 bolts left to get out. They are now uncovered and ready to be cut. That makes it a lot easier. I just realized I forgot one right here, so let me get that one chiseled out. Alright, I'm back from the store. I got the flat washers, and now we've got to cut down all the boards. They are slightly too long, so we need to cut them to 96 inches, or 8 feet exactly. They're slightly longer than that and won't fit currently, so time to start cutting. Alright, I've got 3 left to cut, but I may not need all of them. We're gonna see how much of a space I want between them. If I want like a 1/4 inch gap or maybe something less than that, we'll just see how this plays out. So we got all of them cut except for 3 boards. And tip of the day is don't leave your square out in the sun unless you want to burn your hand. So I always slip it into the shade somewhere, at least where I live, where it gets extremely hot. Like right now it's mid-March and it's 85 degrees and very hot already. So fun. All right, gonna go cut 2 more because we need at least 2 more, and I want to see how much of a space we have. I've got them for now just butt up against each other, and that's might be how I leave it. We'll see. All right, I think I like that. Just butt it up against each other. I'm not going to worry about putting any kind of gap or anything. We're just going to go with this, and then I'll cut a strip off of the last board I have over here, which works out pretty well since I got one that was split really bad. So that won't matter because I only need like 1/3 of it for this little gap here. So before we do that piece, obviously I'm going to get all these other ones done. So what I got to do now is get my drill and start drilling out holes and attaching these. All right, and that's that. So it just gets hammered down into the, I guess I could show what a carriage bolt does. So you see that's got the little square underneath the head. You just hammer it into the wood and then it holds tight, and then you just put the nuts on the end and everything. So, and oh, there it is. There it is. And so I'm just gonna go do that a lot more times and see how far we get. Alright, so we're there. We've got the whole first row and middle row done, and the strip cut out and also in place. Now I'm just going to let it down and hopefully without doing any more jack stands or anything, the back will be high enough off the ground where I can just get the back ones in while it's just laying down. That would be ideal and awesome, and get this wrapped up. So let's see. And also, in case you noticed, I put the jack stand here or the jack here, you know, just helped make me feel better. The jack stands, I mean, are solid, but you know, it doesn't hurt to have a little extra here. So I put it there, and I guess also I can explain. I used a Forstner bit for drilling out all the holes, just because it makes a cleaner cut and it just cuts better. You can also use a spade bit. It just tears out a lot more, which for this purpose it really probably doesn't matter, but I have the Forstner bit, so I'm using the Forstner just because it's way better than spade bits. Another question I get is, why am I using cardboard? And so the answer to that is, you try laying down on 50 or 60-year-old asphalt where all the rocks are coming up out of the surface, and see how much you like it. And then the next question is always, well, does the cardboard actually help? And then my answer is, well, yeah, because I wouldn't use it if it didn't. So yes, it does help. It's not like it's a bed to where it's super comfortable, but at least you're not having rocks jammed into your skin and, you know, as bad. So there's the cardboard explanation. Should be good to go, so I'm gonna get set up on that side, and those should be quick and easy, hopefully. That's it. It's done. Solid. Better floor than it had before. You were waiting for me to go back there and flip it back, weren't you? Not happening. But yeah, it's very solid. Much happier to have that versus that pile of trash over there. Deck boards will and should will last quite a bit longer than plywood. The water can drain out, and a lot easier with this because it can go through, you know, the cracks in there, and it's just going to perform much better. And then of course it's thicker. That was only 1/2-inch plywood, so it'll just be nicer all around, and a nice upgrade for the trailer that was desperately needing to be cleaned up. And so now I'll be able to use this for some more upcoming projects on the channel, and personal projects as well. Thank you guys for watching, and catch you next time. Take care.